Honey, let me tell you how my niece Naomi and I set a wedding on fire. They thought they could keep this girl silent, thought they could hide the truth. But when a man lies to your girl and then tries to marry her cousin, baby, that's when Eve, that's me, steps into the ring. And trust me, that night, the floor of that fancy venue was soaked with the bride's tears. And me, I had no regrets, because sometimes the only way to save someone you love is to break their heart before a lying man destroys their whole life. Now, sit down, pour yourself some tea, because this story is going to take a minute. Part 1, the invitation that never came. You know that feeling when something's off, but you can't quite put your finger on it? That's exactly how it started, baby. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I remember, because Tuesdays are my bridge club days, and I'm sitting at my kitchen table with my sister Patricia. Now, Patricia and I, we've had our moments over the years. You know how sisters are. But that day I should have known something was brewing. She's going on and on about her daughter's wedding. Oh, Eve, the flowers are going to be spectacular. We got these imported roses from Ecuador. And the venue. Girl, you should see this place. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, the works. She's showing me pictures on her phone, scrolling through like she's presenting a slideshow at some corporate meeting. And I'm sitting there, nodding, smiling, saying, that's beautiful, Patricia, like a good sister should. But honey, you know what I noticed? She never once said, you're going to love it when you see it, or wait till you get there. No future tense. Everything was, you should see, like I was watching from the outside looking in. But I brushed it off. I mean, this is my niece we're talking about. Little Naomi. Well, not so little anymore. The girl's 28 now. But in my mind, she's still that 6-year-old in pigtails who used to fall asleep on my couch watching The Lion King every single Sunday. Naomi and my niece, Patricia's daughter, they practically grew up as sisters. Our families lived 3 blocks apart in Brooklyn. Every summer barbecue, every Christmas dinner, every birthday party. Those 2 girls were attached at the hip. Naomi's mama, my baby sister Claire, she passed away when Naomi was only 15. Cancer took her fast, honey, too fast. And after that, Patricia and I, we tried to step up. We tried to be what Claire would have wanted us to be for that girl. So you can imagine, when Patricia's daughter, her name is Sarah, beautiful girl, always been a bit naive but sweet as pie. When Sarah got engaged 6 months ago, Naomi was over the moon. She called me that night, crying happy tears. Aunt Eve, she said, Sarah asked me to be her maid of honor. Can you believe it? I could believe it. Those girls loved each other like blood. But then things started changing. It was subtle at first. Phone calls getting shorter. Text messages taking longer to get responses. And whenever I'd ask Naomi about the wedding planning, she'd get this look in her eyes, not excitement, but something else. Something that looked a lot like hurt. Everything okay with you and Sarah? I asked her one day. We were having lunch at that little soul food place on Fulton Street. You know, the one with the mac and cheese that makes you want to slap your mama. Naomi pushed her collard greens around on her plate. Yeah, Aunt Eve, everything's fine. But I'm 53 years old, baby. I've been around long enough to know when someone's lying to protect themselves. That girl was hurting, and she didn't want to burden me with it. 2 weeks before the wedding, I got my answer. I was at Patricia's house helping her address some last-minute invitations. People always forget somebody, you know how it is. And I'm looking through the guest list, checking off names. Uncle Raymond? Check. Cousin Marcus? Check. The Johnsons from church? Check. And then I realized I'm looking at a list of 237 names, and Naomi's name? Nowhere to be found. Patricia, I said, keeping my voice calm because I'm not the type to pop off without getting my facts straight first. Where's Naomi on this list? My sister didn't even look up from the envelope she was sealing. Oh, Naomi's not coming. Just like that. Casual, as if she was telling me it might rain tomorrow. Excuse me? I put down my pen. What do you mean she's not coming? Patricia finally looked at me, and honey, the look on her face. It was like she'd been practicing this conversation in her head. Eve, Sarah doesn't want her there. It's her wedding, and she gets to decide who she wants to celebrate with. I felt my blood pressure rising. You know that feeling when your face gets hot and your hands start shaking? Yeah, that was me, but I kept my composure, barely. Patricia, those girls have been like sisters their whole lives. What happened? She waved her hand dismissively. Some drama with the fiancé. You know how young people are. Always caught up in some mess. Sarah said it would be uncomfortable having Naomi there, and I'm not about to stress my daughter out before her big day. Drama with the fiancé? What kind of drama? I don't know all the details, Eve, and frankly, I don't want to. Marcus told Sarah that Naomi tried to, well, that she made inappropriate advances toward him. Said she's been jealous of Sarah's happiness. I'm sorry, but I had to laugh. Not a happy laugh. One of those laughs that comes out when something is so ridiculous, your body doesn't know how else to respond. Naomi, making advances on someone else's man? Patricia, have you lost your natural mind? My sister stood up, getting defensive now. I believe my daughter, Eve, and I believe Marcus. He's a good man, successful, treats Sarah like a queen. Why would he lie? Why would he lie? Oh, honey, if I had $1 for every time a woman asked that question about a smooth-talking man, I could retire to Barbados tomorrow. But I didn't argue, not then, because I needed to talk to Naomi first. Part 2. The truth comes out. I called Naomi the moment I left Patricia's house. She didn't answer. I called again, straight to voicemail. I sent her a text. Baby girl, we need to talk. Come by the house tonight. She showed up at 8 o'clock, and honey, when I opened that door and saw her face, I wanted to cry. This beautiful, strong young woman who'd survived losing her mama, who'd put herself through college working 2 jobs, who'd never asked for anything from anybody, she looked defeated. We sat in my living room, the one with the good couch that Claire helped me pick out 20 years ago. I made us some chamomile tea, not because I thought tea would fix anything, but because it gave my hands something to do besides shake with anger. Aunt Eve, Naomi started, her voice already breaking. I'm so sorry you got dragged into this. Baby, don't you dare apologize. Just tell me what happened. And I want the truth. All of it. She took a shaky breath, and then it all came pouring out. 6 months ago, right after Marcus proposed to Sarah, the 3 of them went out to celebrate. Sarah, Marcus, and Naomi. Sarah had to leave early for work the next morning, but Marcus convinced Naomi to stay for one more drink. Said he wanted to get to know his future cousin-in-law better. I should have left with Sarah, Naomi said, tears streaming down her face now. But I thought I was being supportive. I thought he was trying to be family. But Marcus wasn't trying to be family. After Sarah left, his whole demeanor changed. Started sitting too close, touching Naomi's arm when he talked, complimenting her in ways that made her uncomfortable. He said I was the kind of woman who knows what she wants, Naomi told me, her hands wrapped tight around that tea mug. Said Sarah was sweet, but a bit simple. Can you believe that? Talking about his own fiancé like that? I could believe it. I'd met Marcus exactly twice, and both times something about him rubbed me the wrong way. Too smooth, too charming, the kind of man who knows exactly what to say to make you feel special, until he's done with you. Naomi said she shut him down immediately, told him he was disrespectful and left. But Marcus didn't stop there. He started sending her messages on Instagram, private messages, carefully worded so they could be interpreted as innocent if anyone saw them. But Naomi knew what he was really saying. I saved all of them, she told me. I don't know why. Maybe some part of me knew I'd need proof someday. Smart girl. That's Claire's daughter right there. After 2 weeks of messages, Naomi blocked him. She thought that was the end of. She didn't tell Sarah because, And this is the part that breaks my heart. She didn't want to ruin Sarah's happiness. She thought if she just stayed away from Marcus, everything would be fine. But Marcus, he couldn't let it go. His ego was bruised. So he did what men like that always do. He flipped the script. Went to Sarah and told her that Naomi had been hitting on him, that she was jealous, that she'd sent him inappropriate messages, and he'd had to block her. Sarah didn't even ask me about it, Naomi sobbed. She just believed him, stopped answering my calls. When I finally got her on the phone, she screamed at me, Aunt Eve, called me a jealous, bitter woman who couldn't stand to see her happy, said I was dead to her. I held that girl while she cried, held her the way her mama would have if she was still here. And I made a decision right then and there. Some people might say what I did next was wrong, that it wasn't my place, that I should have let sleeping dogs lie. But honey, I've lived long enough to know that sometimes the right thing and the polite thing are two completely different things. And I'd rather be right than polite any day of the week. Naomi, I said, pulling back to look her in the eyes, I need you to send me those screenshots. Every single one of them. She looked at me, confused. Why? What are you going to do? What your mama would have done if she was here. I'm going to tell the truth. And if Sarah doesn't want to hear it in private, then she's going to hear it in public. Naomi shook her head frantically. No, Aunt Eve, you can't. The wedding's in 2 weeks. You'll ruin everything. Baby girl, I took her hands in mine. Sometimes things need to be ruined before they can be right. Would you rather Sarah marry a liar and spend years figuring out who he really is? Or would you rather she know now, when she can still walk away? The truth was hard, but it was necessary. Part 3, Preparing for War. The next 2 weeks were the longest of my life. Naomi sent me the screenshots, 23 messages total, spread over 2 weeks, each one more inappropriate than the last. The first few were subtle. Great seeing you tonight. You looked really beautiful. Thinking about our conversation, you're so much more mature than most women your age. Then they escalated. Sarah's lucky to have a cousin like you. If I'm being honest, I wish I'd met you first. Do you ever think about what could have been if circumstances were different? And then the final ones, the ones that made my skin crawl. I can't stop thinking about you. This is torture being around you at family dinners. We could keep this between us. No one has to know. Each message had a timestamp. Each one was crystal clear. And when Naomi had finally responded, Marcus, this is completely inappropriate. I'm blocking you. Don't contact me again. He'd sent 3 more messages before she could block him, calling her a tease and saying she'd been leading him on. Classic manipulation. Classic predator behavior. I printed out every single message, put them in a folder, and then I did something that might seem petty, but trust me, it was strategic. I had them enlarged, big enough that anyone standing within 10 feet could read them clearly. Patricia called me 4 days before the wedding. Eve, you're sitting at table 6. I'll text you the details. Actually, Patricia, I need to talk to you about something. Can it wait? I'm running around like a chicken with its head cut off here. No, it can't wait. It's about Naomi. She sighed, that long, suffering sigh that meant she was already done with the conversation. Eve, please. I don't want to hear it. Sarah's made her decision. What if I told you Marcus lied? What if I had proof? Silence on the other end. Then, what kind of proof? The kind you need to see in person. Meet me for coffee tomorrow. Just you and me. She agreed, reluctantly. We met at a Starbucks halfway between our houses. I brought the folder. When I showed her those messages, I watched my sister's face go through about 7 different emotions: shock, disbelief, anger, confusion. And finally, this was the one that hurt the most: denial. These could be fake, she said, pushing the folder back across the table. Anyone can fake screenshots nowadays. Patricia, look at the dates. Look at the details. Why would Naomi fake messages and then not show them to anyone for 6 months? Why would she stay silent and let herself be cut out of the family? I don't know, Eve. Maybe she's more manipulative than we thought. I had to count to 10 in my head. My sister was so desperate to believe everything was perfect. So desperate. Then I'll make sure Sarah has the chance to see the truth herself. My sister's eyes narrowed. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm coming to that wedding, and I'm bringing proof with me. Eve, if you ruin my daughter's wedding, the wedding's already ruined, Patricia. It's just that Sarah doesn't know it yet. I left her sitting there, mouth open, too shocked to respond. Part 4. The Day of Reckoning. The day of the wedding arrived. It was a Saturday in October. One of those perfect fall days where the air is crisp and the leaves are turning gold, and everything feels like it should be magical. The venue was in upstate New York, some converted mansion with gardens and a fountain, and enough unnecessary luxury to feed a small country. Marcus came from money. His family owned a chain of car dealerships, and they weren't shy about showing it. I wore a navy blue dress, elegant but not flashy. I wanted to blend in, at least at first. Naomi had insisted she wasn't that she didn't want any part of it, but I'd finally convinced her. Baby girl, I'd told her the night before, you need to be there. Not for the drama, for you, so you can have closure, so you can see that you did nothing wrong. She'd agreed, though reluctantly. We drove up together, barely speaking. I could feel the anxiety rolling off her in waves. When we pulled into the parking lot, Naomi grabbed my hand. Aunt Eve, I'm scared. I know, baby. But sometimes we have to walk through fear to get to freedom. Your mama taught me that. We walked in together, arm in arm. The ceremony hadn't started yet. Guests were mingling in the garden, drinking champagne, admiring the flower arrangements that probably cost more than my car. Patricia saw us first. Her face went white, then red. She stormed over, her heels clicking on the stone pathway like gunshots. What are you doing here? She was talking to Naomi, not me. Her voice low and venomous. You weren't invited. She's my guest, I said calmly. Last I checked, I was invited, and I'm allowed a +1. Eve, don't do this, please. This is my daughter's day. And she's practically my daughter too, Patricia, which is why I'm not going to let her marry a liar. Before Patricia could respond, Sarah appeared. And honey, she looked beautiful. Her dress was stunning. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was flawless. But the moment she saw Naomi, all that beauty twisted into something ugly. How dare you, she spat, marching toward us. How dare you show your face here after what you did? Naomi's voice was quiet, but steady. Sarah, I never did anything, and I think you know that. Deep down, I think you know. You tried to steal my fiancé. Marcus told me everything. No, I stepped forward, opening my folder. Marcus lied to you about everything, and I can prove it. I handed her the first page. She looked down at it, confused at first. Then her eyes started moving. Reading. Her face went empty. What is this? Messages from Marcus to Naomi. 23 of them, all from 6 months ago, right after you got engaged. Read them, baby. Read them all. Sarah's hands were shaking so hard the papers were rustling. Marcus must have sensed something was wrong because he came jogging over, all smiles and charm in his expensive tuxedo. Everything okay over here, ladies? Then he saw what Sarah was holding, and his face changed. Just for a second, a flash of panic before he covered it with confusion. What's going on? Sarah looked up at him, tears already streaming down her face, ruining that perfect makeup. Did you send these messages to Naomi? I don't know what you're talking about, babe. Let me see. He reached for the papers, but Sarah pulled them away. Did you send these messages? Marcus looked at me, then at Naomi, calculating. He was trying to figure out how to spin this, how to manipulate his way out. I could see the gears turning. But then Naomi did something beautiful. She pulled out her phone, opened Instagram, and showed Sarah the messages on her actual account. The real receipts. No way to claim they were fake. I blocked you, Naomi said to Marcus, her voice stronger now. But Instagram keeps the message thread even after you block someone. It's all here. Every word you said, every lie you told. Marcus's face went from charming to cold in an instant. The mask slipped, and honey, what was underneath was ugly. You know what? He said, his voice hard. Yeah, I messaged her. So what? She's beautiful. She was flirting with me all night, and I'm a man. Can you blame me for being tempted? The audacity, the sheer audacity of this man. I never flirted with you, Naomi said, disgust dripping from every word. I was being polite because I thought you were going to be family. Oh, please, Marcus laughed, but it was a mean laugh. You wore that tight dress. You touched my arm. You laughed at all my jokes. What was I supposed to think? And there it was, the real Marcus, the one who blamed women for his own lack of control, the one who thought basic human interaction was an invitation. Sarah was crying openly now, mascara running down her cheeks. Patricia was trying to pull her away, whispering, "We can fix this. We can talk about this later." But Sarah wasn't moving. You told me she hit on you, Sarah said to Marcus, her voice breaking. You told me she was jealous. You made me cut her out of my life. She's my family, Marcus. She's my family, and you made me hate her. Babe, listen. Don't call me that. Sarah's scream echoed across the garden. Guests were starting to notice now, turning to look, whispering, "Don't you dare call me that." She ripped the engagement ring off her finger, a massive diamond that probably cost more than most people's yearly salary, and threw it at his chest. It bounced off and fell into the grass. We're done. The wedding's off. Get out. Marcus tried to salvage it, tried to turn on the charm again. Sarah, come on. This is just cold feet. Let's go somewhere private and talk about this. I said get out. Security. Yes, they had security at this wedding, because of course they did. Started moving toward Marcus. His father, a portly man in an expensive suit, rushed over trying to smooth things over, talking about misunderstandings and working this out. But Sarah was done. She turned to Naomi, and for a long moment, they just looked at each other. Two girls who'd grown up as sisters, torn apart by a man's lies. I'm sorry, Sarah whispered. Oh God, Naomi, I'm so sorry. Naomi opened her arms and Sarah collapsed into them, sobbing. They stood there, holding each other, while the wedding guests whispered and Marcus was escorted out, and Patricia looked like she might faint. And me? I just stood there with my empty folder, watching the truth set people free. Part 5. The Aftermath. The wedding obviously didn't happen. The guests were sent home. The fancy venue, the imported flowers, the crystal chandeliers, all of it for nothing. Or maybe not for nothing. Maybe it was worth it to save Sarah from a lifetime of misery. Patricia didn't speak to me for 3 weeks. When she finally called, her voice was small. Eve, I owe you an apology. You owe Naomi more than an apology, Patricia. You threw that girl away like she was nothing. I know I did. I just wanted everything to be perfect for Sarah. I wanted her to have the life I never had, and I think I got so caught up in the idea of this perfect wedding, this perfect son-in-law, that I stopped seeing what was real. We talked for 2 hours that night. Patricia cried. I cried a little too, though I'd never admit it to anyone but you. She told me she'd always felt like she was in Claire's shadow, like our baby sister was the pretty one, the smart one. And when Sarah got engaged to this successful, handsome man, Patricia thought finally she had something to prove that her family was just as good. Pride. It makes us do foolish things, doesn't it? Sarah and Naomi? They're still healing. But they're talking, really talking, for the first time in 6 months. Sarah told me she'd had doubts about Marcus, even before the Naomi situation. Little things that didn't add up. The way he'd flirt with waitresses, the way he'd make comments about other women's bodies, the way he'd get angry when she didn't text him back fast enough. But I thought that was just how men were, Sarah told me one day over coffee. We'd started having weekly coffee dates, just her and me. I thought I was being too picky, too demanding. Everyone kept telling me what a catch he was. Baby, I told her. A catch is a fish you throw back if it's not good enough. You don't settle just because someone looks good on paper. She laughed at that, a real laugh. It was good to hear her laugh again. As for Marcus, last I heard, he's engaged to someone else already. Some young girl, 22 years old, fresh out of college. I pray she figures out who he really is before it's too late. But that's not my battle to fight. Naomi's doing well. She got a promotion at work last month. She's started dating again, not seriously, just putting herself out there. And she's thinking about moving to Atlanta, starting fresh somewhere new. Would you be mad if I left New York? She asked me last week. Mad, baby girl? I'd be proud. You've spent too much of your life trying to make other people happy. It's time you figured out what makes you happy. She hugged me tight. Mama would have done the same thing you did, you know, at that wedding. I know, baby, I know. Epilogue, what I learned. So what's the moral of this story, you ask? What's the lesson that you're supposed to take from all this drama? Here's what I learned. The truth might hurt, but lies destroy. When I crashed that wedding, a lot of people thought I was cruel. Patricia's friends stopped speaking to me. Some of our extended family said I was vindictive, that I just wanted attention, that I ruined a young woman's special day. But here's what those people don't understand. That special day was built on a foundation of lies, and eventually that foundation would have cracked. Maybe a year into the marriage, maybe 5 years, maybe after they had kids and Sarah was trapped and isolated and wondering how her life went so wrong. I didn't ruin Sarah's special day. Marcus did that the moment he decided to pursue Naomi, and then lie about it. I just made sure the truth came out before it was too late. There's this quote I love. I can't remember who said it, but it goes something like, "The truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off." And honey, that's exactly what happened. Sarah was pissed. Patricia was pissed. Half the family was pissed. But now Sarah's free. Free to find a man who respects her. Free to rebuild her relationship with her cousin. Free to live a life that's not based on lies. And Naomi, she's free from the burden of a secret that was never hers to carry. Free from being labeled as the villain in someone else's story. Free to move forward without that weight on her shoulders. As for me, I learned something too. I learned that sometimes being a good aunt, being a good woman, being a good human means being uncomfortable. It means standing up when everyone else wants to sit down. It means speaking when everyone else wants you to be quiet. My sister Claire, God rest her soul, she used to say, "Eve, you got too much mouth on you." And she was right. I've always had too much mouth. But you know what? Sometimes the world needs women with too much mouth. Women who won't sit quietly while injustice happens. Women who love their people enough to risk being hated for telling the truth. So yeah, I crashed a wedding. I brought down what should have been the happiest day of a young woman's life. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Because at the end of the day, honey, love isn't about keeping quiet. Love is about speaking up. Even when your voice shakes. Even when everyone tells you to mind your business. Even when you know you're going to be the villain in someone's story. True love, the real, deep, unconditional kind, it demands courage. And sometimes courage looks like a 53-year-old woman in a navy blue dress, walking into a mansion with a folder full of screenshots, ready to burn it all down to save the people she loves. That's my story. That's what happened when everyone was invited to my cousin's wedding, except the one person who needed to be there. And when the truth came out, well, Honey, let's just say that imported roses and crystal chandeliers can't compete with the beauty of freedom. Now, I've been talking for a while. Your tea's probably cold by now, but I hope you heard what I really wanted to say. Don't let anyone silence you. Don't let anyone tell you that keeping the peace is more important than standing for what's right. And if you ever find yourself in a situation where you have to choose between being polite and being honest, choose honest every single time. Because at the end of your life, you won't remember the times you were polite, but you'll remember the times you were brave. And that, my dear friend, is worth everything. The end told by Eve, a woman who loves too hard, speaks too loud, and makes no apologies for either.